What's up everyone, Vince the Lawn Engineer here, and Happy New Year. I hope everyone had an enjoyable holiday season. So it's wintertime here in the Northeast, and I wanted to take advantage of this downtime to focus on some topics that I think are important to discuss. So to help me, I have teamed with another lawn influencer to bring on a very special guest in the turf care industry. Together, we will ask questions relative to fall and winter lawn care. We hope the professional advice and tips in this video help set you up for success this spring. So stay tuned. Joining me today is Kevin from Royal Knight Agriculture and Brent from the YouTube channel and Instagram profile Lawngenuity. Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey Vince, how are you? Thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Kevin is a Carbon Agronomic Consultant for Royal Knight Agriculture who also represents Peach Country Tractor in Mullica Hill and Williamstown, New Jersey, DCM, which is a Belgian-based carbon fertilizer company, also known as Do Care More, for their emphasis on the environment and organic fertilizers, and Ameriturf, a carbon fertilizer company based in Texas. Kevin graduated from Rutgers University with a bachelor's in plant science, where he was very active in the turf program, working on the research farm, and becoming the turf club president in his senior year. Kevin has worked at such world-renowned golf courses like Pine Valley Golf Club, the Old Course at St. Andrews, Huntingdon Valley Country Club, Hidden Creek Golf Club, and Trump, Philadelphia, formerly known as Pine Hill Golf Club. He has taken his experiences and love for soil sustainability to join Royal Knight Agriculture in supplying golf courses, landscapers, organic farms, homeowners, sod farms, and many more customers interested in organic and carbon-based fertilizers. Thank you for being on the channel with us today, Kevin.
Vince, thank you for having me.
Also joining us today is Brent, who is a new and upcoming lawn influencer who is active on Instagram under the handle Lawngenuity, and recently started his own YouTube channel. He has lived in his current home for a decade and has been working to turn the lawn around. Brent always wanted a great looking lawn and has used the generic big box store lawn care products for many years. More recently, Brent started learning more about the products he throws down and has a much better understanding after watching and learning from many others in the lawn care social media community. This year, Brent has taken things to the next level by reading technical publications and networking with industry professionals in an effort to learn and share his experiences. Thank you for being on the channel with us today, Brent.
Vince, thanks for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to sit down and talk with you and Kevin. And yeah, like you said, basically, I've been in my house for a long time and always tried to take care of the lawn. Always tried to make sure that the lawn looked good, but really kind of wanted to start to push myself and kind of figure out what exactly was out there. So I'm really excited to be able to sit down with yourself and also with Kevin and see what kind of stuff's out there with an industry professional, that we can take some of that knowledge and take some of those products that Kevin has to offer and be able to apply some of that information to us as homeowners taking care of our own lawn. So hopefully we can all learn something and then pass that information along to everybody looking it up on YouTube.
Yeah, sure thing. So during our talk today, Brent and I will ask Kevin a series of questions related to lawn care. Kevin's answers come from a strong educational base, as well as many years of experience on some of the most prestigious golf courses around the world. My hope is that you, the viewer, learn a bit about what turfgrass management is like on a golf course and take away some ideas that you can implement into your own personal lawn care programs. So we'll get started with the questions here, guys. The first topic is probably a little bit late for what we're doing now. It's winter time. It's it's around Christmas time. This topic really has to do more with like late lawn care, like fall lawn care and winterizer applications. But this is going to be on YouTube, so even though it's late now, come next year, people may be interested in learning about the stuff and looking it up earlier in the fall season, so it'll be there for them. So one question that I have, Kevin, for you is, this is interesting because I recently did a video on putting down the DCM 2020. It had a much higher potassium content. And, one of the things that I saw was that and it actually came through in the comments section of the video. People basically said, why are you putting down potassium? Potassium causes snow mold. And I thought, I wouldn't think that's the case. Let me look into this a little bit more. So I found a white paper published by Cornell University, and it doesn't say that it causes snow mold, but they said that the presence of potassium did increase the presence of snow mold. Now, again, like I'm bringing this up because I've read these comments. Me personally, I have never had an issue with snow mold in my yard. I've always done some of this similar. Now, DCM is new to me, but the other products I've used in the past have also had potassium in it, and I've never had an issue. Maybe it's people's soil type or whatnot, but I wanted to get your thoughts on that. I know Brent wanted to also ask about some of the warning signs for snow mold and how we could treat for or even prevent snow mold.
Yeah. Oh, that's a wide, broad question on snow mold. But so, talking about diseases in the winter, you are only going to be stricken with a couple of those diseases, and that is mostly going to be seen in fine turf. So one thing that is different between a home lawn setting and a fine turf setting where you will see more of these diseases is because the plant is already under stress. It's being mowed at a tenth of an inch or lower in some cases, and a home lawn is usually not under stress like that. So I would not say that potassium is going to heighten the severity of snow mold in that situation. What we're trying to do with a potassium application at the end of the year, also a phosphorus application at the end of the year is a good application, but potassium specifically is to help winterize the plant and help it have just stable metabolism through the winter. It helps it from freezing completely. Anything that freezes is literally like a popsicle. You step on it and you break it. That's what frost is. But what potassium is doing is giving it the food source that it wants for winterization. I call it the coolant in your car because it doesn't, or the antifreeze, sorry, the opposite of that. I call it the antifreeze of your car because it doesn't allow, the freezing and the desiccation that can happen during winter. So it allows the plant just to metabolize and have the structure to get through the winter. And in that situation, when you're building the metabolism and you're emphasizing plant health, it should not, increase the severity of snow mold. It should do quite the opposite, in my opinion. You're trying to give it the defense mechanism. And during my time as, a fine turf manager, never have I used the terminology, I'm scared to use potassium because I'm going to get winter snow mold. The solution in that situation is a fungicide application, period. Iprodione is, what is recommended kind of for that last season spray. You have it?
I have. This is azoxystrobin. We talked about this.
I'm not 100% sure of the label, but I'm sure it covers it. The strobies cover just about everything. So what golf courses do at this point is to, almost this week or the week before is to apply a snow mold application. And that will just cover most people against snow molds. And when I say, this week or the week before, I'm talking December 21st and December, 14th. So the other thing...
Real quick, what was the name of the product you mentioned?
Iprodione.
Do you know how to spell that?
Iprodione, I believe. It might not be IONE at the end, but it's pretty close.
Yeah, I'll look that up. I haven't heard of that one.
That's usually done. And then the other thing is to talk about the two different types of snow mold. Gray snow mold to my best memory, and I'm kind of digging through a couple cobwebs here. Gray snow mold only will happen with 21 days of persistent snow coverage. So if you're in this kind of area, we only had snow coverage for 5 days. So you're not going to get gray snow mold in that situation. Now, fusarium, pink snow mold, that can happen really at any time. That's, that is what turf managers are scared of. You're not going to see gray leaf spot or gray snow mold as much as you're going to see pink snow mold. But I would not, to get back to the original question, I would not say that a potassium or fertilizer application used to help winterize the plant and help the plant in the winter is going to add to the severity of snow mold. And because you're doing quite the opposite. You're setting it up for winter. So
right.
You would go to a fungicide application.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. I appreciate that. And, and that's how I felt too. And I mean, for those who may have seen that video, I came across as, the potassium is going to help harden those roots and prepare them for the winter and get them through the winter months. It's always a delicate balance with lawn care, right? We apply products that, we apply products in a way to do certain things for us, right? Like when I called this my winterizing application, my goal was to, feed it with a little bit of nitrogen because I still had a little bit of growth. I want the plant to take that nitrogen, store it for the winter so that it's readily available. We also had the slow release nitrogen that is going to be available there for uptake come springtime. And then there's the potassium to harden the roots, kind of help put things to bed. And then if I had any fears of fungus issues or something like that, if I really thought that was going to be an issue, I will put down some products to help. I have the azoxystrobin. I also have the propiconazole. But just before we got this snowfall, I put down an application of the azoxystrobin just to be safe, on the safe side. And I don't mean to just throw down chemicals all willy-nilly. Like I want to try to be responsible too. But I also, want to make sure I'm keeping the turf in the best health that it can be. And I did recently overseed with a different cultivar of perennial ryegrass, but before that I had one single cultivar of perennial ryegrass. There was no diversity. So I knew going in that I was risking losing everything if something like a disease or a fungus came through and wiped something out. So I've been more proactive with my own personal program on being diligent with the fungicide applications, monitoring soil temperatures, monitoring moisture, and looking out for those prime temperatures and moisture levels that tend to harbor like disease and fungus, and try to take action, be proactive, apply a fungicide, apply it correctly, and hopefully get past that point, and hopefully save the lawn from any damage. Brent, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, and I think, Kevin, you hit on this a little bit, but just kind of to follow that up, we're talking about the idea of, kind of winterization, right? We've seen a lot of talk about that, at least in the area of social media, and at least in the area of, like YouTube and Instagram and stuff. That's where a lot of us are seeing things, right? Like a lot of homeowners, we get interested in lawn care. We're going to go to Instagram, we're going to go to YouTube, and we're going to kind of look at some of those outlets to try to figure out a couple things, try to learn some things. I know that was certainly the case for me before I started, meeting people like yourself and started trying to read some other literature out there. But in talking about that, what is it that turf care professionals are looking for in terms of winterization. What are you looking to put down, or I guess let me back up. What are you looking to accomplish with the turf before dormancy sets in, and in the fall? What are you looking to accomplish before that winter weather, that winter dormancy sets in any kind of turf grass?
Yeah, it is a great way to ask the question, what am I trying to accomplish when I come into the fall months and the winter months? And then you start to think about the next season, September 1st, October 1st. You're already thinking about what you want to accomplish through the winter into next season. So you think about how the roots are growing in the plant, and once it gets out of the summer, it's able to start to regrow its roots. And then you are approaching aerification, and you're going to allow oxygen back into those roots. And at that point, I would start thinking fall winterization and root growth in my mind. Phosphorus being one, and potassium being number two. I concentrate very little on nitrogen because I believe if you have proper soil structure and plenty of biology in your soil, you're not going to need to fixate nitrogen at a level that you have to constantly apply it. What we're trying to do is add to the root structure and then add to the plant structure with phosphorus and with potassium. And what that is doing, similar to what Vince was trying to accomplish this year on his home lawn, is also set the plant up for the springtime where it's going to have the nutrients readily available and digested already. They're already going to be a little chewed and ready to go for the roots. So you're already going to have phosphorus for root growth in the springtime and potassium to help the plant come out of winterization, help it metabolize, and help it get jump started for the springtime. So as a turf manager, September 1st and October 1st, what you're doing at that time is also concentrated on April 1st is when we come back out and what is readily available. So I think that's what you're trying to accomplish as a fall fertility and a fall fertilization program, and that's what you're trying to set the plant and the soil up for the next year. So that's the way I would approach it.
All right, it's really good. That's really great. I mean, in terms of just kind of understanding. I mean, I know that I tend to try to, and again, I mean, I've been taking care of my lawn for 10 years, 12 years, but really trying to come to an understanding of just the plant biology and saying, okay, well, I need to be focused on what's the plant going to do in the spring. What is the grass? What's the turf going to do in the spring? How is it going to react? So, I mean, with that, in the fall, are you looking to kind of take any levels of nutrients and boost them above a quote-unquote normal level that we would normally see in any kind of publications, or that we would see on a soil test, for instance? Or are we trying to boost any of those nutrient levels above a normal level, and with the expectation that any of those nutrients are going to decrease over the wintertime?
I would say not particularly. Like, you do not want to over-apply fertilizer in the fall time, because then you are allowing it to grow uncontrollably, and then you're setting it up for disease severity. So especially nitrogen is something that you do want to stay away from past October 31st in my book. You don't want to go anywhere near nitrogen. You're not trying to push the plant in that way. You're trying to, do a different thing, with phosphorus and potassium. So I would say we're not trying to load it up, and we're not trying to go past what is recommended on a soil report, because then the only thing that's going to happen is it's just going to stay there, and it might just dissipate a little bit, but it's not really doing any good because it's not being used. You can say that it's going to be there in the spring, but if you over apply, then you're kind of asking the plant to do more than you want it to do. It's a great case of, I want it to go to sleep because it needs to rest. It just went through June to September where it was stressed. Now we want it to go to sleep, and we want it to rest, and we want to put it to bed, and we want it to stop growing, and just, that's what we're trying to accomplish there. So I would not say that we want to load it up, go past expectations. We want to kind of keep it lean, but give it the correct nutrients for winter.
Okay. And just one other question, talking about this idea of winterization. I mean, one of the things that I'm particularly interested in, I know that I've talked with a number of other individuals in forums and also, people that I interact with on Instagram, is what kind of height of cut are golf course superintendents or turf professionals looking at for like a winterization? When you're talking about doing that final cut, when you're talking about, kind of getting towards the end of the mowing season, are we looking to go shorter, leave it longer, maintain what we've been doing? What are your thoughts?
We usually want to go longer. So similar, we just took it out of the stress period. Now we want it to recover. So a golf course, in some cases, if we're mowing at 1/10 of an inch at 0.100, they'll move it up to 1/8 of an inch, 0.125. Because what you're doing is giving more leaf blade to take on more photosynthesis to grow more roots. So that's what you're trying to do, and you put it to bed. And then when it comes out in springtime, you still want to keep it long, in my opinion, until you need to cut it lower, like in a golf course setting. So but that's a different subject too, getting into the springtime. So we'll stick on the fall time. Is I raise the height of cut in the fall time, and it gives the plant to have more leaf surface for more photosynthesis and more root growth. So definitely keep it a little higher.
Even in a typical lawn, like, I mean, on the golf course, we're talking, just fractions of an inch, right? But how about on I guess for a homeowner's lawn, say for those who are mowing their tall fescues at like 4.5, 4 inches, right? And now we come into the winter months, or the lawn's starting to go dormant. Is it I guess one of the questions, or I guess what I hear is, people will take their lawn down a couple inches, maybe down to like 2.5 or 3 inches from 4 to 4.5 inches. I guess in an effort to prevent the grass from like laying down on itself, say, for instance, when it comes to snow, or I don't know, just is that an issue from that standpoint?
Yeah, so I guess, I answered Brent's in a golf course setting, and, if I answer yours in a landscape setting, I would still say, longer is better, but in a 4-inch, 4.5-inch situation, that's plenty fine. That's, the where the plant wants to be as far as its genetics. It wants to be in that 3.5 to 4.5 inch range. So anything there is okay. What I can say is when you cut lower, what you're doing is promoting density. It's as if you topped a tree. It's going to grow horizontally. So you are promoting density, but you don't want to scalp the plant. You don't want to cut it super low in the fall time. So a good example is a home lawn that's normally cut at 3.5 inches. I would not cut it at 2.5 inches to end the winter. I would keep it at 3.5 inches, where its recommended plant height for its genetics is. So, yeah.
All right, great. No, thank you. So, I have a question about weeds and using pre-emergents. So, one of the best ways that I control weeds is to prevent them by just keeping the grass nice and dense. I also use a pre-emergent in the springtime. I do an early pre-emergent application right around when soil temps are between like 55, 60 degrees. And I put enough down to get me through most of the summer months to prevent like crabgrass and stuff like that. But one of the questions I have is overseeding in the fall. And then, because I like to do overseeding almost every fall, I'll do an overseeding. And maybe I don't need to do that, but I like to overseed in the fall. And one of the things I get concerned about are winter weeds. And I never put down a pre-emergent. And now I feel like I do my overseeding pretty early on in the season, like late August, the very first week of September. If the temps aren't too bad, I'll do my core aeration and overseed. Now I'm using perennial ryegrass, comes up in 3 days, and I'm pretty well established by the middle of October. Now, is that a time where I can then put down a pre-emergent without risking damaging this new grass that I put down? Could I do something like that? Or should I really just continue the course, like no pre-emergent, wait until spring? What are your thoughts on that?
That case, that's a case-by-case basis, so we'll go on your case for the conversation. You can, and you don't have to. You can really do whatever it is in your opinion that you want to do, and the the weed severity. So it's really a threshold, and that's a great word to use for landscape and for home lawns. Is what is your threshold? How many weeds are you going to tolerate until you're tired of it? So you can either do a post-emerge, a very light post-emerge in the winter with a 3-way herbicide to pick up henbit and to pick up some of the basic winter annuals. And you can do prodiamine I like to do prodiamine kind of in after the new year. That's what we used to do it on the golf course. We used to do it in tall, high fescue, 5+ inch areas after New Year's. And that was trying to limit some of the grassy weeds. So that might be a different conversation, but you can use prodiamine on your home lawn. Do I recommend it? No. I would recommend you touch up a little bit post-emergent in the winter, very light rate. You don't want to ding the grass too much, but I would just approach my springtime herbicide. What I want to do as a carbon fertility specialist is to limit the amount of products that will hurt the biology in the soil. And herbicide will hurt the biology in the soil. So I'm usually against something sitting on the soil for long periods of time. And prodiamine in the winter on a home lawn, that's just sitting there for a long time, and it's just constantly taking away from the soil biology. So I would approach a healthy home lawn that has a small, weed threshold. I would approach it in the springtime with pre-emergent fertilizers like Dimension, or you can use prodiamine in the springtime as well. So again, it comes back to the threshold. How much are you willing to allow, and how much are you willing to see before you want to approach the situation? So, and then every lawn's different. So like Brent, like what do you have currently as far as grass coverage, and do you have winter annuals popping up right now?
I don't have anything right now. I'm not seeing too much pop up, at the moment. And I didn't do any kind of, when I did overseed in the fall, I didn't do any kind of pre-emergent with that. I noticed a couple spots, like I probably have about 5 or 6 spots of some clover that popped up in the fall that I'm not terribly concerned about. But that's interesting that you talked about, the prodiamine in the winter, because that's something I was thinking about doing. I have some prodiamine and I was thinking about spraying it, probably not right after the new year. I was thinking more towards, February. And that was something I wanted to pick your brain about as well. But, thankfully you already touched on it. So that's very interesting that you said that. And it's going to certainly make me rethink. It's already making me rethink that plan of action in terms of letting that, particular product sit on the grass and in my soil, because obviously I am focused on, kind of increasing the biology and increasing the soil health, in my lawn. so that I can increase the turf health.
Yeah, so it's really up to the homeowner, up to the threshold. So you have the homeowner, the landscaper, and the golf course in this situation. They have three different thresholds, and it's, up to them how they want to approach the situation.
All right. No, great. Thank you. Appreciate that. So that kind of gives us a good segue into our next topic, which is more just winter lawn care. We have a lot of questions here. Mostly a lot of us I feel like at least that, winter is here, nothing to do, just wait till spring. But I think a lot of these questions are going to be kind of like, what can we do? What can we do to prepare for spring, or what are you guys doing in the winter time? So we'll just get right into it. I'll start first, Brent. So Kevin, for those of us who are currently in winter dormancy, what are some tips that you can share with the do-it-yourself lawn care community to keep the grass healthy through the winter and prepare for spring?
Watch it sleep. There's really not much that you want to do. There are probably only a few applications that I can recommend that you can do in the winter, and that's just stuff that will be digestible in the soil in the springtime, and that's not going to stimulate too much growth or any disease severity. So you have very few products that you can lean towards in that situation. Any humic acid concentration you can be throwing down to help catalyze anything in the soil. You can add products like gypsum or lime. You can add in the springtime or the winter. Sorry, you can add them in the winter because they're not going to affect too much, and you don't want to go overboard. But the other one would be like a chicken PPM material, like there's a chicken biosolid material, and that's just adding to the biology in the soil. The other product that I was trying to think of was the product that we carry at Peach Country Tractor and Rollinite Agriculture. It's volcanic ash. So volcanic ash is a product from Montana Grow, which is a silicon granular. So you're able to add a soil silicon amendment, and it has 56 different trace elements, and all it is doing is helping stimulate the biology in the soil, adding to the organic components in the soil, and it's a product that breaks down over 230 to 250 days. So you're not going to see an extreme flush of growth. You're only going to see a little bit more of wear tolerance, density in the turf. It's going to help with photosynthesis. It's going to help with cation exchange capacity, which is the calcium, the potassium, and the magnesium in the soil. So very few products. I mean, I said lime, gypsum, volcanic ash, and some humic acids. Other than that, it's don't mow it, don't step on it when it's frosted over, because it's completely frozen. So, at that time on a golf course and a landscaper, you're going back into the shop and you're working for next year. So you let the grass stay because it's not growing, it's not metabolizing. You don't want to walk on it, you don't want to mow it, you don't want to beat it up. And there's very little products that you can really use in the winter time and be safe. So those are a few of the products.
All right. No, that's great. I really appreciate it. And also, I had a question later on about some of the do's and don'ts during winter. So you've kind of hit on that one. So that's pretty clear. Thank you for sharing that. Now, Brent, I know you've got some questions.
Yeah, and I think honestly, Kevin, you just answered a whole lot of the questions that I personally had. I know that I had put down, the Montana Grow volcanic ash in the fall when I did my first fall application of fertilizer, which I'd have to go back and look in my journal of what I put down and when I did it, my application rates. But If memory serves me correctly, I want to say that was somewhere around like the third week of October that I ended up putting that volcanic ash down. So that's interesting that you mentioned that. And very interesting also that you're saying I could do a second application at some point during the winter, which I'm going to look into and talk to you more about, and I will probably end up doing. But the one of the other things that I was interested in, because we were talking about the volcanic ash, and you're talking about thin spots, you're talking about areas that we need to kind of thicken up the turf. I do have some areas that I've noticed are a little bit thin in my yard, and in some of those thin areas, what are your thoughts on dormant seeding? And do you have any kind of suggestion for that? Yes, no, maybe. What are your thoughts on dormant seeding? Spring.
Yeah, so dormant seeding, the only way I see that being successful is when it's protected in the soil. You're not going to be able to throw seed on the ground and it grow and it go dormant and then grow for you in the springtime. The only way that dormant seeding is successful is by aerating it into the soil, or actually aerating soil to get the holes and then seeding into those holes, because then the seed is protected all winter. And to be honest, I have seen minimal success with dormant seeding. I've never seen 100% catch in a dormant seeding situation. Dormant seeding is not, it's not, I wouldn't say it's recommended. It's, unless you're aerifying and getting that seed into the soil, it's going to be very difficult for that seed to grow, during the winter months.
So certainly not a best practice on a golf course or any kind of other, high turf area.
No. Well, in the high turf area, you have the situation because it's going to be protected from the winter, and it's going to be protected from the wind, from the rain, the snow, and in the higher turf situation, the actual soil canopy is going to be a little bit warmer because it's like a beard on your face. If you shave your beard off, your face is going to be colder, but if you have a big, gnarly beard, then your chin's going to be nice and warm. That's the same idea for a seed. If that seed is in the ground in an aerification hole, then it's protected, it's warm, it's not getting hit from the weather as much, and it has a chance to kind of slowly germinate and come back out in the springtime. But if you're just throwing seed on top of the frozen ground, not a chance.
Thanks, I appreciate that. That certainly answers a question I've had for a while. I've personally never dormant seeded. I've seen mixed reviews on it. From a lot of people. Some people will say, yeah, I know that this is something I'm really interested in. Some people are definitely doing it. I know just last week, we're talking about social media. We're talking about things that are readily available to the homeowner. I know that Jimmy Lewis, just did some dormant seeding on his front yard where he had some washout of some glyphosate. And, he said, I'm going to go ahead and, kind of dormant seed this and see what happens. He said he's never done it before, I believe. So, that kind of got me thinking like, okay, well, what are your thoughts on that? So I appreciate that.
I would do it in the springtime, right when everything starts waking up, and you just got to baby it a little bit. But, yeah.
All right. Cool, man. I think we've covered all of the questions, I think, in this topic. Any last questions, Brent, on this topic here?
I don't have anything else.
All right, cool.
I think that really what we're hitting on, all the things that we had kind of come up with and brainstormed before we sat down to talk. I think that we're really hitting a lot of those things right now really well. So
great. So on to some of the more like general stuff, maybe not necessarily related to winter or fall lawn care, but just some questions that that I had mainly and want to get your thoughts on, Kevin. So I know we've talked a little bit about humic acid and how important it is, or really, maybe we didn't talk about how important it was, but you did make mention of maybe that's something we could apply in the wintertime. And I've been using humic acid for a while. I believe in it. But there's a lot of people out there that think it's snake oil. So humic acid, fulvic acid, sea kelp extract. Is it the real deal or is it snake oil? And explain.
It's the real deal. Absolutely. It's, the basis of our fertilizers at Roll Night Agriculture. All of our fertilizers are chelated in organic acids. Organic acids is humic, fulvic, and amino acids. And what they are, and this is the snake oil comment, is that humic acids, organic acids, fulvic acids are fertilizers. They are not fertilizers. I do not consider them fertilizers. While humic acids are catalysts to help the biology in the soil and the chemistries in the soil, it's mostly to help the chemistries kind of catalyze nutrients that are stuck or that are bound. A lot of those products or a lot of those nutrients are the cation exchange nutrients. It's the potassium, the magnesium, and the calcium. Phosphorus gets locked up in the soil easily. Sulfur is a difficult thing in the soil. So what these acids do is help come into the soil and catalyze these nutrients that are having a difficulty breaking down. They are not fertilizing anything. They are just helping, catalyze the bound up nutrients for it to become fertilizer. So, the best word for humic acid, fulvic acid, amino acids they are catalyzers, or they're catalysts in the soil. So, not snake oil. And I feel like they are the new technology in the industry that is found across the board. And every humic acid, every fulvic acid, every amino acid is different. Not every single one is equal. So every different company can have different qualities of organic acids. And I know us at Roll Night Agriculture, we're pharmaceutically made, that we have the best and the most diverse and the most concentrated organic acids in our fertilizers. And that's what helps stabilize our liquid formulations. So yeah, definitely not snake oil. Definitely the real deal.
All right. Thank you so much. I actually, in some of my videos, I consider it the secret sauce of success.
Yeah, and sorry, the other one is kelps. Kelps are absolutely the real deal. And kelps and, again, organic acids is the basis of a lot of our fertilizers. Kelps and seaweeds contain cytokinins, gibberellins, and auxins. Those are also catalysts in the soil. They're food sources in the soil, and they help most of all with cell division. So kelps and organic acids help with cell division in the roots, and that helps build a stronger, faster, healthier plant.
So, Kevin, many people have asked me how I keep the lawn looking so good. Neighbors walking by, people in their cars driving by, and I'm happy to share what I do with them. But then they don't want to put in the time or the effort. And sometimes I'll talk with these people for like an hour and I'll see it just go right over their head, which is part of the reason why I started the YouTube channel in the first place. And in many of my videos, I do say that if you are willing to put in the time and the effort, you will get results. And for those who are limited on time, but want a good looking lawn, what would be maybe like your top five things or tasks that they should incorporate into their lawn care plans?
Oh yeah, great question. Let's think of someone who's busy and just 5 things to incorporate. Is keeping it as simple as you really can, but one thing that you have to do as a homeowner is control weeds. So what I would say to that person who's busy is, number one, control weeds, or you're really going to have a difficult year. So number one would be, your proper pre-emergent herbicide fertilizer program. So a dimension or a prodiamine. Control your weeds, and then you can control your lawn. The other one would be a fertilizer that breaks down over a long period of time and has a controlled release over a long period of time. So, even a product like the Montana Grow volcanic ash that we were talking about, that's a product that's made of a rock material that will break down over the entire year. So that guy who wants, a good lawn but doesn't have the time is choose a fertilizer that's going to break down over a long period of time. The other fertilizers that will do that are the organically made carbon fertilizers. Is something like our product DCM fertilizers that have a controlled organic release over a long period of time. If you use it at the right rate, you can gain 180 days out of a controlled release. Where we are on the East Coast, that's our whole growing season. So if you put that down in May, that is still there for you in October. So that is a good example of, a third product that I would choose. So good herbicide and weed control. Volcanic ash, that's going to give me 200 days of, a release of 56 different trace elements. DCM granular fertilizers, they're going to give me 180 days of controlled release, and you would choose whatever formulation you want to choose. Another product would be gypsum and lime. Two easy things if you're going based on a soil report that you can apply that will have little growth effect, but it will help catalyze the chemistry in the soil, and it will help keep calcium in the soil. And if I want to pick one more product to round that out, it would probably be any biological fertilizer that you can come across. So any biological fertilizer like Royal Night Agriculture has the Microbial Supreme or the Bioremedy. That is a product that's going to help stimulate biology in your soil. And if you can stimulate biology, then the processes in your soil are going to break down over the entire course of the year. The more you incorporate, the more sustainable your lawn's going to come. So a good thing to say to that guy who's super busy is incorporate as much as you can in the springtime, and continue that in the fall if you can, and then keep with that program to add soil biology to help give a fertilizer that can break down over a long period of time and control your weeds. You'll have a great looking lawn that you put minimal effort into.
Very nice. No, thank you for that. I appreciate it. I think it's important for those who want a nice lawn but don't have the time to have options, and I think those are definitely great options, easy options, and really appreciate that. Another question I have is actually about soil testing, and I'm asking this mostly because I just recently did a video where I did a second soil test, and my soil test was done by My Soil is the name of the company. Actually, it was under the label for Yard Mastery, but My Soil runs the testing. And I'm not too familiar with testing methods that they use. I mean, I tried to read through a white paper. I couldn't quite. It seemed like it was pretty generic, actually. So I couldn't quite tell exactly what they were doing, what they were using, how they were really coming up with their values for like pH and the values for the nitrogen, the macronutrients, the micronutrients, etc. And it wouldn't tell me how much. Say, for instance, lime, because I need to raise the pH of my soil a bit. It wouldn't tell me how much lime to apply. And I've been reading more into that, and I've been talking with some others, and they've said something about a pH buffer. And without a pH buffer, you can't really tell someone how much lime they need to add. I don't know if that's true. Maybe you can speak more to that. But my question really to you is, what is the best kind of soil test a homeowner can get? Is it something that's like off the shelf you buy online for 30, $40, comes in a, self-addressed stamped envelope, you collect the sample, put it in the jar, send it off? Or is it going to like a local university? Or there's also a company called Waypoint that I know that does some soil testing, and I hear that they're highly regarded. What are some of your experiences with soil testing, and what would you recommend to the viewer?
Yeah, great question. And I feel like that this is a subject that homeowners do not really have at their accessibility very easily, because a lot of it is university driven. A lot of it is private labs that people send their soil samples to. I would not feel very comfortable taking a soil sample off the shelf at Home Depot. Very similar to, I would not ever trust the little soil pH probe that they put in the ground that you can buy on Amazon for $10. That does not work. So my best success with soil samples have been a university entity or a private lab. I know, me personally, I've used Logan Labs in Ohio a lot, and I know guys who use Turf Dietitian, who I believe is in South Carolina or North Carolina. And there's a lot out there. Mostly every single state university is going to have some sort of soil lab attached to it. So Ohio State, Penn State, Rutgers, a land grant state university is going to have a lab attached to it. But there's private entities out there, and that's what I would say is your best bet. And they are really not expensive. If you are daunted by you sending a soil to a lab and thinking it's going to cost you hundreds of dollars, it does not. We did one for a homeowner that cost them $25, and that's what it costs to send it to Logan Labs. So $25 per sample. The most expensive one with the completes and all the micros and the paste saturation sample, that is going to be about $65, $70. But definitely a private lab or definitely a university entity is going to be your best bet. That's going to be the most accurate soil sample that you're going to get as well.
All right, great. Now, do you know much about this whole idea of the pH buffer? I'm not. Are you familiar with that whole chemistry side of things? There's the pH and then there's pH buffer, and I don't know how those are determined or what's used for that. But from what I've read, maybe I'm reading the wrong things or I'm being told the wrong things. The way that I understood it at the time was that was used to help determine how much lime you put down. Maybe I'm completely wrong on that. I guess the question is, how does a soil test calculate how much lime you need to throw down in like pounds per 1,000 square feet to raise your pH?
So one thing you said there was a pH buffer. Now that's one thing I never really used in my professional line on golf courses. That was just not needed in my opinion. And then the second question you asked was, why do soil samples not provide you with the amount of lime that you should be putting down? And I believe that it's a little bit arbitrary. So you're going to come up with different rates of lime that are going to fluctuate your pHs on different soils. So they can't really hone in on a specific amount of lime is going to raise your pH this amount. It's just not, we can't calculate that. No one can really calculate that. What you can do is choose a rate and then do a soil sample a few months after that application to kind of estimate that X amount of pounds per acre is going to raise my pH this much in this area. It could be totally different in a different area. It could be different on a home lawn. It could be different on a different portion of the golf course. So it's really a tool that you use to raise the pH, and it takes experience. It takes, a little trial and error. If you go out with 300 pounds per acre, you might not raise it that much. But if you go out with 1,000 pounds per acre, you're going to change that soil chemistry a little bit, and you're going to raise the pH. So I can't say for certain, what the rate, successful rate on any situation would be, because they're so drastic, they're so different, there's so many different variabilities that can be happening there. So it's a good tool to use in this situation is low and slow. And that's something that's used a lot in the industry. That's something that we preach with our fertilizers, is if you're going low and slow and you're incorporating it, you're not shocking anything in the soil, and you're slowly incorporating beneficial materials. So that could be used in lime. A good example is my home lawn right now where I'm at, is I only used 200 pounds per acre of lime this year. And all that was kind of a spoon feed, and just kind of try to catalyze a couple different things in the soils, and then add a little bit of calcium. But
okay. Now, did you go with dolomitic lime or calcitic lime?
I very rarely use dolomitic lime, and our agronomists at AmeriTurf can go deeply into why you would not use dolomitic lime. But I mostly use calcitic lime if I were to lime.
Great. Well, thank you for answering all of our questions today, Kevin. Really appreciate it. And also thank you for being on the channel. Really appreciate you sharing and talking with us about lawn care and sharing your expertise and experience with our viewers. I know Brent's not here with us anymore, but also thank you, Brent, for joining us and asking some really great questions. And would it be okay if I left a few links in the description below of some of those products you were mentioning, like Montana Grow and some of the Royal Night products?
Yeah, absolutely. So, a good thing for myself and for my company, my entity, is we are easily reached at royalnightag.com. We are also reached in store at Peach Country Tractor in Williamstown and Mullica Hill. We are reached on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Our Instagram is RKAG_golf, RKAG_turf. For any of our professional turf related pictures, a lot of our testimonials are on there. Some of our products are on there. So those are places also that you could find some of our material. But you'll be adding, in this link in the description, you'll be adding Montana Grow Volcanic Ash, Royal Night Agriculture Microbial Supreme, and the DCM materials, DCM.green, for their new emphasis in America. So that would be where you would find myself, our company, our entity, and you feel free to put anything in the description and the link below.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
And there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and thank you for joining.